What is up? Alison Harbaugh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've been waiting to do this one. So pumped.
I know. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. I've been looking forward to it.
It's so good. Well, I've been following your lacrosse career, but more importantly, just been so encouraged by how you've shared your faith on social media and just from knowing you from a distance. So I can't wait to get to know you even better and to introduce you to our audience. But I'll start with the question that I ask all the guests on the What's Up podcast is, what are you all about right now?
Yeah, that's a really fun question. I have two answers. One more fun and maybe one more a little more depth. But my fun one is now that I'm a washed up retired lacrosse player, I've been really into just like running and doing workout classes and everything. So it's been a lot of fun to kind of get into something new and do kind of what I want. So it's been really fun.
I can totally relate to that. So what's your favorite workout class right now?
Oh my gosh, I'm a big F45 girl. My mom and
Okay.
I go, which is really fun. And I'm actually doing a half marathon in September, so I had to
Oh,
drink
congrats.
something.
Let's go. I did a half. When did I do it? Like in March, I think.
Oh,
And I was like, I'm not gonna do that race like when I graduate. And then you know what? I did it.
I
I
know.
got peer pressure. But it's worth it. You're gonna have fun.
Yeah, definitely a little different than what we're used to, but
Yes.
becoming an endurance athlete is a little harder than I thought it was gonna
No
be.
one is subbing you out on the half marathon. I'll tell
Yeah.
you that.
Absolutely. And then I guess my other answer would be just more faith, and life-wise. I think this year and like over the past 6 months, I've been really trying to just rest in God's presence, even when you don't feel Him. I think it's easy to like let our feelings dictate like who He is or how we feel about Him and defining Him. But I've just been trying to stay faithful and just like rest no matter what I'm feeling and just know that he's so good and he's working no matter what. So I think that's what I've been trying to focus on recently.
That's so good. Yeah, I definitely need to focus on that too more. And I think it's hard when you come from such an intense environment,
Yeah.
being in college, number one, but then also like playing a college sport, also a spring sport. So you're hot off the press, right? Where like there's very tangible things going on all moments of the day.
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, that's just such a real thing when you have a big life transition like that. But I'd love to know, what do you have fun coming up this summer?
Oh my gosh, not too much. So it's kind of a little break. It's been some great time with my parents. We're actually going to Montana, the three of us. So that's gonna
So
be super
fun.
fun. We're leaving this weekend. We'll get a little, change of scene, and it's been nice to just kind of chill before jumping into the next thing this fall. So it's been great. It's been some great downtime.
That's going to be really fun. Family time is so special, especially in the summer. But I do want to just tell people a little bit about how we met. I remember the first time
Yes.
I met you was at a Boston College lacrosse camp. It
Yep.
was in like February. It was freezing cold outside. We were in the bubble and it was so intense. This was like one of those
Yes.
recruiting tournaments. And so it was just nice to see a familiar face and meet you there and know you and get connected in what was a crazy just recruiting process.
Oh
And
yeah.
I went on to go to BC. You went on to go to Notre Dame. And
Yep.
then you finished your career at USF. But I would just love to know, like, kind of backtrack. When did you first get into lacrosse?
Oh my gosh. I started playing when I was 8. We moved to Maryland when I was 6, and my parents are from the Midwest. I never heard of the sport. It was always softball. Like I played softball and soccer, basketball, all of it. But so some of the parents from my basketball team were like, "Man, you should really try lacrosse. Like she'd be really good at it." And my parents were like, "What's lacrosse?"
Yeah.
But I tried it out. It's really kind of a hard sport to jump into if you don't know how to throw and catch. So it took a moment for me to really start enjoying it. But my dad would go out in the yard with his baseball mitt and throw with me, and I had my stick, and I guess the rest is history. So it's been a long time, a really long time. I'm sure you're the same way. As long as you can remember, you've been playing the sport.
Well,
So
it's funny. When I was living in like more the Pacific Northwest, they didn't really have it out there, and so it wasn't until I had moved more towards the Midwest and the East Coast where it was a hotbed. And it's definitely not a
yeah.
hotbed like Maryland is, but definitely in Boston, I could say those two potentially rival each other for sure. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think even my parents were more so like, "Hey, you should play this sport. You should play this sport." And I remember seeing my first ever lacrosse stick and being like, don't get me that. I'm not gonna use it. I don't know what it is. Like I literally remember my dad, we were at like a Reebok store and he was
Oh
like,
my
"Hey,
gosh.
like look at this Reebok lacrosse stick." And just like we're trying to sell us on it. And I remember my sister and I being like, "Yeah, like thanks, but like we don't know what that is." So it
Yeah.
is crazy just how it unfolds and that
Oh,
is, I loved basketball. That's not what I ended up doing, but it is just cool to see all unfolded. But what was your club team? Will you remind me of your club team?
TLC.
TLC. Oh, you guys were good.
Yeah. Wait, what were you on?
I was mass elite.
Okay, yep, I
Yeah.
remember that. Now there's so many. It used to be like the core group when we were young, but now there's so many, which is
There
great. The game is growing, but
definitely it's all good things. And those would get super competitive regardless of what sport you're playing. The club and the AAU rivalries are real.
oh
But
yeah.
another rivalry is Boston College, Notre Dame. But I don't think Notre Dame would consider you guys our rivals in football. Like definitely lacrosse, but
Oh yeah.
not football. And so it's just funny as BC, we're like, oh, the Holy War, and
We were,
everyone
yep.
Notre Dame's were like, all right, like we got like Ohio State to worry about, like we got the
No.
national championship on our mind. But I think even though we went to different schools and they were similar schools but different schools, we probably had a very similar experience in college. Like you're on one of the best teams in the country. It's highly competitive. You're fighting for every rep, is potentially your job,
Yeah.
and you love your teammates and you have so much fun on and off the field at the school. But I think for me, there was a lot that wasn't probably known just from looking at my Instagram, right? Like it probably felt a very different way. So I'd love to know just from your time at Notre Dame, like what did you love and maybe what was something that you probably couldn't tell from just going through your Instagram swipes?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. It's such a loaded question. I love it though. I mean, I'm very grateful for the sport and the experience I had at Notre Dame for many reasons. It's an amazing school. Like I love the Catholic aspect, the culture, the lore there is like amazing. It's just one of those places where when you're walking around, you feel the presence of the Lord, and that's just like something I really enjoyed. And there's just, oh my gosh, incredible people. Everywhere you turn, someone's doing just an amazing thing or, striving towards an amazing goal. So it was so motivating to be surrounded by those kinds of people. I think even, let's see, so my junior year is when I really was like struggling a little bit with lacrosse. But it's also, I'm very thankful for it because it's when I kind of really gave my life to the Lord. And so that was just amazing. I think it's probably something that you wouldn't see like on my Instagram necessarily is just I think we put so much worth into, what your coach says about you, your minutes on the field, and whether that's, your sport, whether it's your job, it's something that your time is filled with, like your life, you're just working so hard, towards the goal to be on the field and you think about it all the time and it was just kind of, if it doesn't go your way, it's something that's fickle and material. It's not going to always go your way, in life. And so I think something that I kind of realized was that God, who God says we are is never going to change. And He always tells us we're worthy and chosen in His children. And he knitted us together in our mother's womb and knew our plans for us before we were born. And so I just think having that worth first before my identity as a lacrosse player was like the biggest game changer for me in life and in lacrosse. It made me take it a little less serious almost. It's like just the constant in your life and not to be too swayed by what happens on and off the field. Of course, you still, oh my gosh, you still care and put everything into it, but just to have that anchor, I guess, was probably the biggest difference for me. And moving forward into my life, I'm carrying that. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a beautiful answer, and thank you for sharing all of that. I can totally relate to like everything that you just said, like 100%. And I think it is true, like the hard times throughout your athletic career, or even like now in your working career, right? Which we'll get to in a little bit. Like that's, times that can be hard, but they also bring you closer to the Lord if you go through them with Him. And I
Yeah.
think even for me, like I remember there was a long part of my life when I would hear the song You Say by Lauren Daigle and talking about your worth and who you are. And I remember just being like, yeah, like I know, or like, oh, like I'm good. Like I know I'm loved. And I remember hitting a point in my lacrosse career where I was putting my value and my worth in my performance and in my playing time and in success on the field and even just like how well I did at a
Hmm.
drill, like stupid
Totally.
stuff. and that's important to your team and to you as an athlete, but not to like who you are. And I remember hearing that song one day after practice and like kind of thinking, oh, that was bad, I could have done this better, and like literally being like feeling like I was being reminded by that song. And then I was like, shoot, I must be down bad
Whoa,
like
that's
if this
awesome.
is how I'm feeling. But I think it's so true, and once you're able to like understand that,
Hmm.
you can always like tap back into it and have it be a reminder, because it's not like we walk through life and we're like, oh yeah, like I'm worthy, I'm loved all the time. It's just
Yeah.
that you can rebound way faster than you would if you didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So true.
Well, you then went to USF, so I'd love to know just like what that transition was like.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was really crazy and a whirlwind and so fun. I know God's hand on it was just like on it during everything, you know. Yeah, I kind of got the opportunity to graduate early from Notre Dame, and I kind of just wanted the opportunity to make it more of an impact like on the field. And I love my teammates and the coaches and everything at Notre Dame, but just to have like kind of a new experience and get to kind of bring my years of leadership and everything like that experience on the field to a new team, like literally a new team who was starting their first year. And when I found that out, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is an incredible opportunity to.
And props to you, because you had to do your work in the classroom to be able to graduate early. So good job,
Oh
Allison.
gosh, thanks.
Props to you.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, oh my gosh, when the McCords reached out, I remembered them from recruiting in high school and everything. I knew they were people of faith. So even though there was no culture to kind of see and visit, like no team to really visit, when you went on that visit, it was kind of empty. Like, this is going to be the locker room, this is the practice field, and, this is what we're doing. I knew that they were going to build it right, and they had it all organized, and they were like, this is the values, these are the pillars, and I was like, dang, they got it organized. So I knew right away it was going to be done right. And then, Tampa, Florida is just an amazing location. It was just, I could see how much effort the athletic department was putting into the team, which was really special, especially for, a women's Olympic sport. And it just all felt right. I had to pray on it for, probably a few weeks, and they were probably like, where did this girl go? Is she going to answer us? But it felt right, and it just kind of went with it, and it flew by, but it was an amazing experience.
That's so awesome. I just love to hear how you handled that process, number one, but then two, like being able to walk into a space that's new and unknown is really hard, right? Especially when there's no like, yeah,
Yeah.
let me talk to the sixth year that's been here, all these years. Like you're really walking in blind in some sense. And so I just would love to know, like, there are a lot of athletes who are probably entering the transfer portal or are switching up where they're going to go, or even just like making that decision to go into recruiting. So, what's like one piece of advice you would give maybe a young athlete or an athlete who is kind of in that decision making part of their life on how to handle it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. It was kind of fun. I got like a second round of that almost. Because when you're, 16, 17, you don't really know what you want. I mean, it's kind of hard, and I felt like I really knew what I wanted the second time around and had grown in my faith. So, I would just say like go where you wanted. You know what I mean? Like when you go on these visits, you can kind of tell like if you're really wanted just by how the coaches talk to you and what they envision, I guess, you to be on their team. So I would say no matter what level it is, you don't have to go to like a top 10 school. Like just go where you're going to be valued, and also just go for the school. I would say not just the team or people that you know or anything like that. Because you're going to be there for 4 years. It's going to be way more of an experience than just lacrosse. It's going to be your degree and set you up for the rest of your life. And you want to enjoy the years. So just make sure you love the place, the campus, and everything like that. I guess I would say those would be my pieces of advice.
That's great. That's great advice. It also helps when you have palm trees around,
Yeah.
okay? So like that's not bad. I know when I was moving my brother Henry into school at UCLA, I was looking around, I'm like, oh, I loved Boston. Like I loved it, but like the palm trees out your window,
Yeah,
that's
it's
kind of
not
nice.
bad.
Well, I'd love to know just from this last lacrosse season, and if you want, you can throw it back to Notre Dame, but do you have a favorite lacrosse memory that sticks out?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I would say honestly probably our first game this past season. I mean, we had a training year before we actually started, this past spring, and I just felt like that date, February 7th, is gonna be drilled into my mind the rest of my life because for a whole year and a half, we were like, February 7th, that's the day we would, and they did, oh my gosh, the McCourts did a great job of like pubbing it out to people, so people would come, we'd write letters to people, we'd walk around campus, February 7th, and it felt kind of tiresome after a while. Like, why are we doing this? But it paid off. We had like almost 2,500 people at our first game, which for women's lacrosse, I'd never even played it.
That's a
I didn't
lot.
think it was
Yeah,
that
that's
many.
amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I think it just came like into fruition, all your hard work and the anticipation. And, it was a night game. The atmosphere was incredible. They had fireworks at the end of the game. And oh my
Man,
gosh,
why aren't we all there? That's amazing. Come on.
it was just like I think everyone was so joyful and just I don't know, almost relieved in a sense. It's like, all right, now we're playing. It's just lacrosse. So that is definitely a memory I'm gonna cherish the rest of my life.
Wow, I can't with the fireworks. I'm like, what? Is that real? That's amazing. I mean,
I know, it
come
felt like
on.
a
I mean,
movie.
here's the fun thing is like maybe you can make February 7th now like an inaugural reunion for you and your teammates or you
Yeah.
in that class. Could be fun.
No, that would be awesome.
That's so great. Well, I did read somewhere that your teammates nicknamed you Mima. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, it's correct. I was a lot older than a lot of them. It was so funny. Like there was one of my teammates, Lila, this past spring, she was a senior in high school and came early, like for the spring. And I'm like, what year were you born? And she's like 2007. I was born in 2001, and I'm just like, this is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think like we talked about, I gained my faith and so much like not only lacrosse experience, but I feel like life experience while I was at Notre Dame in my time there. So I felt like I could kind of just help like the younger girls along in their faith and honestly, for lack of better words, just not to sweat the small stuff, and kind of just help them out and on the field and off the field. And so yeah, some of them nicknamed me Meemaw because Jules, she's our other fifth year. She was grandma and I was Meemaw, so we were the old ones on the field. But it was great. They kept me
That's
young.
awesome. Well, it's probably also just so rewarding to be able to pour into like younger, like 2007. I'm like, wait, I was like very well like dialed in every Wii dance or what's it
Oh
called,
yeah,
Just Dance
yeah.
on the Wii. Like I had been going for years by 2007. Okay, like I was no longer a child. So that's pretty funny to hear that year and her being on your team. But I can imagine how cool it was for those younger girls on your team to just hear from your experience too, and also just from a faith perspective because I think that's kind of my hope too with this podcast is like you can go to all these different outlets in the world. You can go to all these different resources, but like what's the right advice, and something that like I would always try to do in college is like yes, you're getting information overload in your sport, right? Because you're trying to put it all into literally into practice.
Hmm.
But like where are you going for your other sources of like knowledge, wisdom, joy, and all those things? Like yes, entertainment, like TV shows are great and like fun and all those things, but like what's going to fill you up? And I think it's so cool that
Yeah.
you were able to be that for those girls. So I'd love to know just like what was the faith community like in college for you, maybe at either school, and like what did that look like?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think it's so important to surround yourself with believers. It's like iron sharpens iron. I mean, just hold each other accountable, but just like to talk about, what we're going through, especially as student athletes. It's like we're all dealing with the same stuff, and just to have that faith, help each other grow in it is amazing. And I would say the FCA groups like made the biggest difference for me at both Notre Dame and USF. It was just great, like playing games, with other student athletes and just talking about Jesus and just reading the Bible together. I mean, that was like, every Wednesday night at 7, pizza and talking about the Lord. And it was just like the best. It was a little break. And that stuff definitely, like you said, fills you up like no other. And especially like it's always those nights you're like, oh, I really don't want to go. I just stay home, go to bed. But every single time I walked out of there, I felt, renewed, like my spirit renewed and refreshed. And, it's kind of unexplainable that that would happen. You know what I mean? But it's definitely the Holy Spirit. And yeah, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for my community. And I think no matter where you are, like, Christianity is, I think, way more common than people would like to say it is. Like, no matter where you go, there's going to be believers. So just a matter of finding those people and kind of having that group is huge for sure.
Definitely. That's so awesome to hear and just cool how it's been like a constant in your college lacrosse career and how that is because it's hard too to be a Christian in college and it's kind of needed to be reminded that like you're not in it alone, right?
Yeah.
I just love that. But lacrosse isn't the only sport that's been a part of your journey. And I know for me, football has basically been a part of your life probably since birth, okay?
Okay.
Since the womb. So I would
Okay.
just like love to have you kind of backtrack. What's one of your earliest football memories?
Ooh, that's a good question. Gosh, I think, oh my gosh, this is actually pretty funny. When my dad got hired as the head coach of the Ravens, Poe, the mascot, the Raven mascot, I was obsessed with him, loved him so much. But unfortunately, under the stadium one time, he took his like head off, and I saw it was a person. I was
No.
like 6 or 7. I was like, "Poe's not real." My mom was like, "Oh no." So that's probably the earliest memory I have. But I always have memories of like running around. My dad did a great job and still does of just letting the coaches' kids like be around the facility, and just kind of just being around the team and around their dads because you don't get to see your dad that much during football season, especially when you're a kid and going to bed early and they come home late. So I just have memories of running around at practice, tackling dummies and all that, and that was definitely great memories. And I'm so grateful that we were able to do that. And probably annoying to a lot of people, but it's okay.
No, I do wonder how old were you when that mascot situation happened?
Probably like 6 or 7. Yep.
That's definitely scarring. And I can totally relate to like just having that like admiration for the mascot because I spent 10 years in Seattle and the mascot there, I was Blitz, the Seahawk. I was obsessed with. I just thought it was the coolest thing. He'd hang out with the cheerleaders. I thought that I was going to be a cheerleader one day, like no dance background, not sure like who put that dream in my mind, but that's what I thought. And so I go back years later, like as a 20-year-old to work for the Seahawks over the summer. And I'm still like, oh my gosh, it's Blitz. Can we get a pic? I'm like, oh my word. Like I'm literally 23. Like this
Fangirl.
is embarrassing, but I can totally relate to that. And just because it is in the summer and training camp's coming up, do you have a favorite training camp memory? Because I know I spent so much time at training camp and more
Yeah.
so in the tent with the snacks and trying to figure out what I was going to spend my $5 on. But
Yeah.
what's a training camp memory that you have?
Yeah, those were always great memories. It'd be like a bouncy castle, snow cone stand.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
They do a great job. Gosh, this is like kind of silly. I don't know, this is kind of lame, but so when I was in college and all through high school, I actually like worked out in the gym with the strength staff, and that was like such a blessing. You're working with the best of the best to get you ready for lacrosse. So, and now they're like a family to me. I still go over there sometimes. I'm like, can I work out? They're like, oh yeah. Probably like, gosh, why should you gotta leave? But yeah, I would just like work out, and then afterwards they would have practice in the afternoon. I was literally just sit in this chair like on the balcony, try to like stay out of the way sometimes as I got older, but I would just like watch practice and just see what's going on, and then you get to kind of be a part of it and just, good memories out in the hot sun. Oh my gosh. But yeah, and this afterwards, when I was a kid, I would always run up to my dad and he would, there's pictures of us, just me in his arms, just after practice, sweating, whatever, but that's always an exciting thing when the families get to like say hi afterwards, and it's important. So
So fun. It's also cool to just see your dad in that element too. I think is really special because you cheer them on Sunday and you cheer them
yeah,
on like throughout the career and all you want is for them to succeed and be loved and have fun doing it. And so to be like so close to it and it's fun to be a part of an NFL team. Like it's exciting. It's why there are so many NFL fans, right? Like
yeah.
it's so fun. So it's so cool to just be so up close and right there. But I'd love to know just while you were in college, how did like NFL Sundays work? Where were you watching the game? Was it like I can't come to this? I got the Ravens game. Like what did that look like for you?
Oh my goodness, yeah. In college, it was funny. Well, luckily that now they have all these streaming services, so it's pretty easy to watch a game. But my like
Well, you
freshman,
have to have all of the streaming services.
yeah, that's true. I know. I'm spending way too much money to watch the Ravens every Sunday. It's a new one every week, a new platform. Like, goodness, can we keep it consistent? But yeah, my freshman year, that didn't like really exist. I had to buy a VPN to like pretend that I was in Baltimore to watch a game on my computer. It was a whole process. But yeah, my roommate, she's the best, one of my best friends. I would tell her I would be like locking myself in my room, come 1 o'clock on Sunday. I couldn't watch it with anybody, even though like I watched it with her a couple times and she was very supportive, obviously. She's not like rooting against the Ravens, but it was stressful. I just needed to watch it by myself and not have to like explain anything or whatever. I just needed to kind of be, I'm sure you understand, in your own zone a little bit. So it's pretty funny. But
That is so funny. I know I can totally relate to that and just like the intensity of it
yeah,
too.
people don't
But
realize
no, I
how.
mean, yeah, I mean it's kind of like a drop everything like I have the game. Like I remember too when my dad retired, my first thought it was a Sunday and he was still doing Sunday countdown so we'd watch the pregame show, but then the games would come and then I'd be like kind of free. Like my stress level is like gone. I'm like I
Yeah.
have nothing to watch. Really like that we have someone to be following. And I remember sitting like in my house on Sunday and saying to myself, oh, so this is when I do my homework. Like on Sunday, not Sunday night at like 10 p.m.,
Yeah,
Sunday in the
exactly.
afternoon. Like most people get it done and don't
Right.
procrastinate, like usually it was like go like Sundays like church game, like post
Yep.
game, like come home and be like, oh, I got homework. And then, it's so crazy is my dad's helping me with the math homework after
Oh,
he's in these games on that Sunday. So I can totally relate to you and and intensity of that. And I'm sure it's even heightened when you're actually at the game. But if you had a scrapbook right now and you had to make the cover of the scrapbook, what's a favorite football memory that you would put there?
oh, that's a great question. There's so many highlights. I would honestly, I mean, it sounds cliche, but probably like the Super Bowl. There's this picture of my parents and I hugging, with all the confetti like coming down, and that would probably just be on the cover of the scrapbook. I mean, it's just like you said earlier, you want your parents like so badly to succeed because you see them like day in and day out just working so hard, worrying, staying up at night. Like sometimes my dad can't sleep and he goes in at like 3 a.m. because he's just thinking about the team and what's going to happen and the next thing. And, and then he doesn't get home till like 10:30 sometimes, and you see all that just like from at home and you love them so much and you just want them to get to that, ring and just do well and be loved, like you said. So I think that was just like a really cool moment to kind of see it all come into fruition and just so proud, a proud moment, an amazing, joyful moment for sure.
Yeah, not cliche at all. That's totally the moment I would pick for you,
Yeah.
for sure. That is so special. And yeah, just like you said, it's kind of cool to hear behind the curtain a little bit of like, yeah, he's like going in wicked early and staying wicked late. And a lot of jobs do that too. But there's an added pressure when you are the head coach or you are playing for the team in your city. Right? Like there's just a level of publicness to it, right? And so I'd love to know just, I saw it with my dad being a quarterback in each city that we lived. There's a lot of hard, okay? Like there's a lot of challenges that come with your dad, representing the team in that city. So I'd love to know, like, was there ever a moment growing up that you were just like, man, that was really hard to walk through?
Yeah, definitely. I would say just like you said, lots of highs, lots of lows. I think just the sport, like you said, being in the media kind of makes it hard. I remember like walking into school on Monday mornings, elementary school through high school after a loss on Sunday and be like, all right, who's gonna be the first kid to say something about, your dad should have done this, during the game, or your dad should be fired this after this season. I'm just like, oh my gosh. So that was definitely, I would be like, Mom, please don't make me go back to school on Monday. Please let me stay home. And every time she made me stay, and she'd be like, nope, just walk in with your head up, and you're proud of your dad and what he's accomplished. And that was definitely just a huge lesson. Just going through that, I don't like really read anything on social media, honestly, just because no matter what happens, even if you win the Super Bowl and do like the biggest feat, people are always gonna have like something negative to say. But there are lots of great moments too, and lots of moments where he gets praise and it's incredible. But I think that's also why God, like, just having that foundation is so important, just not relying on the opinions of people, So I guess, yeah, that would probably be my answer.
Yeah, well, that's very real. And especially like growing up, that's hard. I think it probably gets easier as you go and you're older and you're more mature and probably
Mhm.
you feel like you can actually like defend yourself in a way. I think when you're little, you feel a little helpless, right? And you see, your father as this like untouchable, right? In a way. And when someone comes at them, you're like, I'll come at you,
Yeah.
a little bit. I can totally resonate. I remember moving to Nashville, Tennessee. It was my first year there, brand new school, new state. And I mean, I had like how old are you when you're in fourth grade? I don't even know. I'd be like, how many picks did your dad throw last night? How, like asking
Yep.
me. And I'm like, bro, I don't know. He didn't come home and talk about it,
Yeah.
like and I think that was what I observed from my dad was like he always left football at the stadium or at the facility. And like, yeah, we'd come home and we'd rewatch the game after we were at the game for 6 hours. Like first thing we do, come home, rewatch the game, but it was never like, all dwelling on the game, good or bad. Wow, watch my great play. Like, never said that. Or, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I can't believe this guy did that on that play. And that's why we messed. Like, there was none of that. It was just on. And he was probably taking it in and, going through the film quietly on his own while he was interacting with the kids. So I'd love to know just like, what have you observed from your dad growing up and watching him handle those ups and downs?
Oh my gosh, yeah, he's just full of so much wisdom. Like, I admire him so much. He'll be embarrassed that I told you this, but he has like a closet in his office and he has a beach chair in it. And he works out at like 5 in the morning and then he goes into his little beach chair, closes the door, and reads his Bible. Like that's does his devotional. And I think I admire him so much for that because Jesus tells us to like pray behind closed doors, and he's literally doing that. So I think that grounds him so much for the day and just like in life with all the people who have things to say. And just he's so full of wisdom for it, I think, too, just because when you fill your mind and heart with the Word of God, like it pours out of you. So he has been such a role model to me in that way. And you can just tell, I would agree, like, he would always come home, like, no matter what time it was sometimes would be like, I'm going to bed, and he's, like, tucking me in and reads to me, like, we would always read Dive Won't Be Kid together, so if he came home before I was asleep, that's what we would do, and it wouldn't matter, he would, not talk about the day at all, left it at the office, and it was just all about me and my mom, like, when we got home, so I think that's very admirable to be able to separate it, and just kind of know that, oh my gosh, even though it like is all consuming, any job, especially a job like that, like family and following in God's footsteps is like really what is most important.
Yeah, well, there's my green light to go buy a beach chair and just have it in my
Yeah.
house randomly. So I'm gonna copy him for that. I love that. I think it's a great like it's kind of like how you dress is how you're gonna perform a little bit like dress the part, and I kind of love that. Like yeah, like sit and rest in the Word. I
Yeah.
I love that. But you mentioned your mom, and I think a lot of people will always ask you about your dad. But I know for me in my experience, I saw how much my mom led our family, right? Because
Yeah.
your dad is probably gone in preparing with the team. And your mom is really the one who I remember, like, when I was thinking about, okay, I'm gonna talk to Allison, and I do want to ask her about how her mom has led for their family. Because when I
Yeah.
sat in the stands, I would think to myself, okay, I'm closing my eyes and putting myself back in that spot. And I remember something happening on the field, glancing up at my mom, seeing how she reacted, and then me
Yeah.
really
Totally.
copying her and reacting either like screaming or like praying or like talking to like whatever the
Yeah.
reaction was. So I'd love to know like how your mom has led your family through this.
Oh my gosh, yeah, she's incredible. I mean, honestly, the wives, like the coaches and players' wives, are the true like rocks and heroes. I feel like of the families, like, because your husband's not around for like 6 months out of the year at all, and you kind of got to be by yourself with the kids a lot. I'm an only child, so it was just really her and I a lot of the time, and gosh, she never ever missed a pickup from school, from practice. She was always there, and she's definitely like Mama Bear, to a T. And so she's so strong. She grew up in like the streets of Detroit, and oh my gosh, she's just so strong for my dad and I, and very it's very inspiring. Like during the game, yeah, she'll be like the same exact thing. I would just follow her, like it's okay. Like she's always calm and very composed. But yeah, oh my gosh, me and my dad always joke too. Just like in life, she's the organizer, like she's the planner. We're going to Montana. She has our vacation. Today we're doing this. The next day we're doing that. And me and my dad just follow her. We're like, okay. And gosh, our family would be just so disoriented if it weren't for her. She is definitely the goat.
That's sweet. Have you seen the TikTok trend where it's like, "Hi, I'm Annabelle and I plan the trip," and then it's like, "Hi, I'm Allison and then it's like, "Hi, I'm Annabelle." Have you seen that?
Yes, that's her.
You guys got to make that for this
That would be
upcoming trip.
hilarious. Yep.
Hey, listen, you need someone. Like I remember I did a trip with my roommates after I graduated, and I mean, I did nothing. And I'm usually the person who's like, "Okay, we need this done, we need this." Like I'm a very big planner, and I mean, I did nothing for this trip. I was literally like on the Venmo team, okay? And I remember just thinking like, "Man, like if we didn't have these three girls none of this would have happened. So you need those people in your circles, you need those people in your groups because they get it done.
Absolutely.
Well, Allison, I'd love to finish up by just talking about your next steps because you got a lot of incredible things ahead of you. And so you're pursuing law school. So can you just tell me a little bit about that next step for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to Loyola Chicago this fall. It's definitely something that God like put on my heart. It's kind of I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a very long time. I was an English major like at Notre Dame. I've always loved just reading and writing and that whole world, I guess. And I was just reading. I love true crime. My mom, she loves true crime, and one day like they were talking about the law part of it, and I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. Like I could maybe get into that, and so just with oh my gosh, finding the school, taking the tests, like it was pretty crazy story, but my God's hand was just like on all of it, and He just confirmed that I was supposed to be like where I chose Loyola Chicago, and so I'm not really sure what to expect. It's going to be a totally new thing from my prior experience in being an undergrad and student athlete, but I'm excited, and I know that man makes his steps, but God makes his path, so. I'm just gonna follow God and see where He takes me. But I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Well, that's the perfect way to go about it. When does it start?
It starts in August and it's
Okay.
3 years. Yep.
Oh, in 3 years.
Oh, it's 3 years long.
Oh,
Sorry,
3 years long. I was like,
it's too
in three
long.
years? I was like,
Oh
wait, because
no,
I
that's
know it's hard
right.
to just even, apply and being able
Yeah.
to go through all those tests and all those applications. It's hard work. And so I just commend you for all of that because I know, you've been through the grind with college sports. Now you're going to get back in the grind here soon. So I hope you have a great summer because
I know you
it's going to
too.
be a lot. But maybe just what's one hope that you have, coming and going through law school?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I look back on my time like at Notre Dame and at USF, and oh my gosh, if I was a freshman at Notre Dame and you had told me that I was going to be playing like on a new team that didn't even exist, like in sunny Florida, I would have called you crazy. So, I think looking back on it, whenever I've put like my life and my next steps to the Lord, like He's provided way more, than you could ever really imagine or plan for yourself. So I'm just gonna try to keep that mindset going into it, and I think no matter what you do in life, just the goal is to always, the Great Commission, just spread God's word and be a disciple. So that's my short term and long term goal. And in terms of my job one day, I guess that's in His hands. But I know that that's gonna be at the forefront, as best I can. But
So pumped. Well, I'm excited to follow your journey and to continue cheering you on in that. And I hope some people got to meet you and get to know you better today. But seriously, Allison, it was so fun catching up with you. I am going to be wearing a little purple and gold this fall. I will say I'll be cheering. So
oh,
pumped for you
appreciate
and
it.
all those things. And have so much fun on your family trip.
Oh, thank you so much. I know it's such an honor. Thank you so much, Annabelle. It's so fun.